Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beamer Barn. In today's video, we're gonna be working on my 335i that I bought for $2,200. I still can't believe it's so cheap. So far, we've replaced the DME completely to fix the misfiring issue that we had, and we bought a full brand new set of Elder coils and got it running, but we still have yet to inspect the car and see what the overall condition is, as far as if there's any rust or chassis damage underneath the car. I wanna take off the front bumper because I'm curious if there's any damage to that crash support bar there. And then I also want to look at the oil pan, differential, suspension, stuff like that, just to see how much money this car is going to need to get it driving 100%. So let's go ahead and move around some cars and then pull this thing, or should I say limp it, into the garage and do our full inspection. Oh no, it looks like we have a little straggler came along for the ride. Hey buddy, you can't stay in here. Wrong way. Wrong way. There you go. See you later, little guy. So we are inside the garage finally. This is the first time we've got this thing to move since we parked it in the driveway. We're gonna do a quick overall outside inspection, starting with the front here. Obviously the bumper is aftermarket, hasn't been painted yet, and the headlights are probably not original from this car actually, because the car is looking for adaptive headlights and these are the base halogen ones. So it makes me think that this car was in a front end collision, so we're gonna have to pull off this front bumper and inspect to see exactly how much damage there is up front there. We'll pop open the hood in a second and get into the drivetrain, but for now, looking at the outside of the car, still looking good on this side. There is some of this clear coat peeling on the doors, which is kind of an eyesore, but I feel like if you were to wrap the car, you wouldn't be able to notice that, and I do think this would be a really fun car to wrap. Here on the roof, there is a roof air splitter, I guess. I don't really like the look of these personally, so I'm probably gonna remove that in the future, but for now, we'll leave it on there. If one of you guys wants it, you can let me know, and I'll let you guys have it. Now moving towards the back of the car, there is not a lot of body damage on this car. Everything's basically straight. The rear end, remember, we have the LCI trunk retrofit to do, so stay tuned for an upcoming episode on that. I can't wait to see how it looks back here with all those lights. But coming around this side, again, not anything surprising. I think there's maybe like a couple of small dents. I think there's one on the quarter panel here, but these are things that you could honestly pop out with some PDR, so I'm not really worried about them. This car has a really good body, and that's what attracted me to it in the first place. The inside as well, beautiful. Looks like nobody sat in the rear seats before, which is great. The front seats are also in great condition. No visible tears or wear marks or anything silly like that. There is that center console, but remember we went to the junkyard and we got a new one to replace that's in much better condition. And also, we should probably address the elephant in the room. Let's hop in the car for a second. Because as you can see here, the car currently doesn't have any radio installed. I removed the aftermarket radio unit that was right here, only because I wanted to see if there was any damage to the harness, which I don't see any damage right here. So there shouldn't be any reason that we can't reinstall a CIC, I believe, unit, or maybe this car had the triple C unit. I think it had the triple C actually. So once we reinstall a radio unit here, we should get the screen working and the iDrive functional again. That'll be really cool to have functional in this car. I think, why would you install one of these radios if you already have a cool screen here? And you can do cool CarPlay retrofits and all that. So for now, we're gonna keep our eyes out for a new head unit right here so that we don't have to use this Android one anymore, and that'll get the whole iDrive system working. As far as the rest of the interior's condition, it's looking really good. A little dirty though, some sand down there on the floor, on the carpets. The car doesn't have any floor mats at all, so we'll probably look into getting some of those because I think it's worth it to have in your car. And you can also see that the passenger side door handle is just completely melting away, and it's actually the same case for both rear left and right doors. So we're probably gonna have to replace those door handles as well because those are absolutely disgusting. Nobody wants to grab those to get in or out of the car. So the car powers up great, and I think we're definitely running with a check engine light and I believe a TPMS fault. As you can see, both of those are up right now and probably looks like low on coolant. Car needs some service. We have an adaptive headlight fault, need the time changed. And then we have some bulbs that are out, as well as, there you go, the TPMS being bad. And also the car looking for SOS, probably can code that out. Another bulb. And then the headlights again, and those are all the messages. So all those things we obviously want to clear out. Obviously, it's still looking for those headlights. So I don't think that we need to scan the DME. I think we already know that we have a couple of injectors that are down. Let's go ahead and put the car on the quick jacks and put it in the air and see exactly what's wrong with it from underneath. All right, so with the car finally in the air and with our handy dandy light right here, we can start to inspect the engine as well as the full underside of the car. Up here, I think we already showed you guys, there's a bit of pimping going on with the big red blow-off valve and some Home Depot PVC in the pipes here. And it's also missing a couple of vital pieces like the vacuum canisters that would go right here. And over here, there should be a bracket for this power steering reservoir, but I think they removed that to make room for the big blow-off valve. So definitely some sacrifices there. The valve cover, I already showed you guys, has a broken bolt in the back of it. And actually, it looks like the gasket itself is coming out of the valve cover here. You can see the little blue rubber coming out, and it's obvious that it's probably causing another leak here in the valve cover. So that is definitely something we should address, as well as the spark plugs. I think those are probably old, and the injectors, which we know are a mix of 07 and 05s, and 2 of them are for sure bad. So those things all need to be addressed up here. Don't see too much else wrong right now. Looks like it has been serviced before. Obviously it is high mileage, so I don't think, like, for example, the vacuum lines are original. These look like they've been replaced before. So everything from up here, not a big deal, not a huge surprise. Let's go ahead and look under the car now and see what lies underneath. All right, so here we go into the belly of the beast. First of all, speaking of belly, we see that we don't have a belly pan under here. There should be at least 2 trays under here, one for the transmission and one for the engine itself, but those are missing. Let's go ahead and see if there is a oil pan leak. Pretty clean. A little bit of oil on the front here. Actually, like a lot of oil on the front here. So definitely something is leaking. Is it the oil pan? Not sure. The water pump looks like it's been replaced definitely before. I mean, again, 200,000 miles, probably a lot of stuff has been done. Looks like a little bit of a leak coming from that hose there. Not sure what that could be. Need to figure that out. Bushings have oil on them. That's kind of weird. Well, it's probably coming from a hose up there. So we just need to figure out which hose is leaking. And the back of the oil pan here looks a little oily. Possible rear main seal leak. We could always check by removing this bracket right here and then the transmission cover right there, the little dust cover. And if it's wet inside of the bell housing, then that's for sure a rear main seal. But otherwise, it could just be residual oil coming from the valve cover or something up there, honestly, because this is a low point for the oil pan. A low point for me too, but yeah, anything else leaking on the motor up top would definitely come down here. We can see nice VRSF downpipes. Pretty cool. They look like they're in good condition, probably recently installed. And the transmission, it's kind of hard to tell. Doesn't look like it's been serviced before. I mean, I feel like the bolts would look a lot newer if it was serviced before. So maybe this is an original transmission. Maybe someone did the fluids in it, but 200,000 miles. Wow. I applaud this transmission for being so reliable. Over on this side of the suspension, the passenger side, looks like it's missing a steering boot. I think that the previous owner said it had new suspension bits in here, so probably some stuff was replaced. I wonder why. I wonder if it was hit and damaged. I'm just starting to think that anything on this car that was touched was because it was damaged. But so far, we don't see any creases or bends in the frame rails here, which are, what would absorb any front end impact. So if it was just a small front end collision, or maybe something ran over that cracked a wheel and damaged some suspension parts. Maybe that stuff was replaced and maybe the car is all better now. This frame rail looks good as well, so that makes me happy to see. At least the chassis of the car is in good condition. And look at this brand new bolt here for the tie rod. That's got to be brand new. The end link's new. And I wonder if the control arms are new, but let's test out this bushing really quick and try with a pry bar. Well, they definitely return to center pretty well, although I will say that this is really soft rubber compared to what I'm used to with like doing power flex upgrades and stuff like that. So we might have to go the power flex route and upgrade these things because that would make a big difference. I do think that the car needs an alignment though, because it does pull from left to right when you start turning the wheel. It definitely feels funny. So I want to check the alignment on this thing and see what the deal is there. But for now, let's move to the back of the car and check out the rear end. Now back here, I don't really have anything that I'm looking for in particular. Really just want to see that there's nothing that's bent or, you know, surprising back here, any cracks or anything that's falling apart. So I don't see anything. The differential looks dry, which is good. The exhaust looks all original all the way up to back here where they just did a muffler delete. And it looks like one of these hangers is broken, which is why it's hanging a little low on this side. But man, I guess that makes sense why this thing sounds so loud. Is definitely didn't expect to see missing resonators there. So yeah, the suspension in the back looks really original, I'd say. Has factory springs. It looks like struts were probably replaced. You can see a little bit of fresh metal up there. So struts were replaced, probably, you know, at these bushings, probably been done as well. I think otherwise it looks pretty stock back here, and no surprises, no bent arms or anything crazy like that. And yeah, pretty decent looking, so that's good. So now let's head back up top and try to pull this bumper off and see what damage lies underneath. Wow, I cannot believe what I'm looking at right now. Check this out. The intercooler is like halfway compressed. It's probably like 80% of an intercooler right there. This was clearly involved in an accident. Something was run over here. It cracked this, loosened it up. I think the bumper's been on for a while, judging by how tight the connectors were. They were kind of just seized on from being dry on the fog lights and stuff like that, which means that they hadn't been disconnected in a while. So it looks like it was improperly installed, and this is kind of like bent in the wrong position. And keep in mind, the reason I wanted to pull this bumper off was to check because this radiator support is broken. And I was expecting to see this bumper bracket bent or damaged, but it doesn't look like it is. So all we do need to do is replace that radiator support and probably get this trim as well and this piece. And I don't know, guys, place your bets. Do you think that this intercooler is going to hold boost the first time that we drive it? I don't know. I mean, that is really bent up there. It definitely could have a leak, a small leak in there. But I guess we'll find out when we take it for a drive for the first time, that's for sure. Now, besides the intercooler that's damaged, don't see a lot of other surprises here. I was surprised to see that this car has the headlight washers. Those are kind of annoying to deal with when you're pulling off the bumper, but not too difficult. And the headlight supports, I mean, they look like they're straight as well. They don't appear to be bent or anything like that, but I mean, these could have been replaced at the same time as the headlights were, and they could be, you know, from a different car. The bumper support is probably from this car, although I do see a little piece of white marker here, which could mean that it's from a junkyard. But again, it's weird because I'm pretty sure that this thing is attached. Well, I thought it was supposed to be attached, but you know what? This has definitely been replaced before. Look, there's supposed to be a pin here that binds the crash bar to the radiator support, and it's clearly missing. So we know for a fact now that this bumper has been replaced from an accident. This crash bar is aftermarket, but the good thing is that everything is still straight and there are no bends or marks in the frame rails. Frame rails look really, really good. So that's a good thing for this car is it's not like totaled, but it is kind of annoying because we're gonna have to pull everything apart again to fix the headlights, to fix the radiator support, and also the intercooler probably. So now what we're gonna do is just make a list of the things that we need to take care of. So the valve cover gasket for sure needs to be done. Spark plugs and injectors need to be done. Headlights, those need to be changed, whether we go with aftermarket or another set of adaptive headlights with the xenons. And we also need a radiator support. The car needs all new fluids, that's for sure. It definitely needs oil and power steering and a brake flush. All those things need to be taken care of for sure. We also have a steering boot to replace, the one that's on the the inner tie rod. And I'm running out of ink here, but hopefully we're getting close to the end of the list here, because I don't want to be stuck replacing everything on this car like we did the other 335. I can't forget that CCC radio. We definitely want to get a used one of those to put back in the car and hopefully have the iDrive system working again. And all those door handles that are just falling apart. Those things need to go. Those are gross. So here's a pretty good list of things to replace. It might not be a super long list, but it is pretty intense. I mean, injectors are expensive, but I think I have an idea what we're gonna do there. The radio, again, we might need to try to get one from the junkyard for a good deal. Hopefully not spend too much money there. The door handles are also good money, I know that for a fact. And then the radiator support, the headlights, a lot of these things I want to try to source used to make the car in better condition, but without spending a ton of money. But you know, some other stuff is just going to require straight labor and a lot of maybe diagnosing, because these are just things that I see from this point right now as the car sits, but we haven't even driven this thing on all 6 cylinders. So who's to say that we don't need to definitely add a intercooler down there, because the one that we have maybe is leaking. The charge pipe situation, that's pretty annoying how we can't install our power steering bracket. And I'm just trying to think ahead here about where we want to go with this build. I have some pretty cool ideas about what we're going to use the car for in future videos, so I really hope you guys are excited for that stuff. But for now, we do have a lot of challenges in front of us. So I knew when I was going into it that $2,200 for a 335i was probably going to come with a couple of surprises, but at least most of the things that are like maintenance and service related have been taken care of before. The engine's relatively dry, which is good, but we do have that crash damage, it seems like, that we need to take care of in the front, as well as repainting the bumper, which I didn't even put on the list, and our LCI taillight retrofit, which is going to involve some paint as well. But who knows, maybe we'll do the painting and then wrap the car a cool color, which I would love to try out. But I hope you guys are excited for this build as much as I am, and I cannot wait to get into the great content that I have planned for this thing. Be sure to leave a like down below on the video and comment if I missed anything on the car that you guys saw on video that should be serviced, and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't yet. As always, I hope everyone has an awesome day, and we will see you in the next video.